Mary Kay Cabot joins us right now. Mary Kay, I'm sorry you have to put up with this craziness, this clown show that is us talking to you, but we thank you very much for your time. First off, could Deshaun Watson do you believe Deshaun Watson will see an actual in-game action this year?
I think the only way that happens is if there are injuries to Shedeur and Dillon, because I think they really want to see a bunch more of Shedeur. And if by chance he gets injured or can't play or they've seen enough or whatever, then I think that they would go back to Dillon. So I think the rest of this season really is about the rookies and trying to figure out what they have in those guys to inform plans for the 2026 draft. So I don't think the plans are to play Deshaun this season on only, 2 or 3 weeks of practice. And that's basically what I expect to happen.
Well, overall, the experience so far, it's only been 2.5 games, and obviously it's insane to project anything out of so few games. And, just the situations. There just hasn't been a lot of opportunities for, Shedeur to really open things up. But when people kind of analyzed the game film, they're noticing that he has kind of held it a little bit, hasn't really trusted taking those shots. Is that something you think they're working on him day and night?
Well, I think it's something that he's working on day and night as well as them working on it, because he has been saying over and over again, he's telling us that he really doesn't trust what he's seeing in his receivers yet. And a lot of that is because of the fact that he hasn't worked with these guys. And so not only is he trying to learn the game and learn how to read defenses and learn how to go through his progressions and figure out what's going on in front of him pre-snap and all those kinds of things, he also doesn't have any timing or chemistry down with the primary pass catchers on this football team yet. They're all working on it very hard, but you can see that he doesn't really have it. I mean, if you look even at a Ced Tillman, he hasn't thrown the ball to Ced Tillman. He's not throwing the ball very much to Jerry Jeudy or David Njoku. So it just hasn't come yet with those guys. He's only practiced with them for 2 weeks. Now he's into his 3rd week of that. And they're trying to accelerate the process, but that's part of the problem. It's why he's holding on to the ball so long. He's not looking out there and seeing it and hitting it and letting it rip. And he even said that yesterday. He's got to see it and pull the trigger. Now, that's easier said than done, because if you don't have that timing and you don't have that chemistry, you can pull the trigger all you want, and it's not going to result in completions unless you two are on the same page. So one of the things that I would be doing with Shedeur and Jerry this week, if I were them, I would be spending a lot of extra time together. I would be texting back and forth about certain plays that they've worked on this week, and I would be watching film together. Whatever they need to do, those two guys in particular need to get it together.
Do you believe that the play calling and the offensive game plans are helping Shedeur? Do you believe that they best suit him?
I think the plays are there. And yes, they have brought him along slowly, just like they have done in practice. They've done the same thing in the game because you have to. That's what you have to do with a rookie quarterback. You don't give them every single thing in their first week. You just don't completely open up the playbook and then give them all the pre-snap responsibilities in week 1. And remember, his starting was accelerated. So he wasn't even supposed to be starting yet. He was still in coming up the learning curve phase in some things. They've already taken a few things off of his plate to help him go out there and succeed, including having Ethan Posich slide the protections, or at least I knew he did that in the first game. So it's just a process. It's a process with rookies, and you can see when you look at some other rookies this season, it's been an occupational hazard to coach rookies, right? Brian Daboll lost his job. Brian Callahan lost his job coaching rookies. So that's how it goes in the life of rookie quarterbacks. And remember, this is a 5th-round rookie, too. This was not a first-rounder. So for anybody to expect that this was going to be a well-oiled machine right now, I think those expectations were too lofty.
All right, the Jerry Jeudy situation, both attempted to downplay it yesterday. What did you make of all of that, both seeing what you saw on the sideline and how they've reacted to it since?
Well, I think it's frustration on the part of Jeudy, who's been now through 3 quarterbacks, and it just hasn't been working out really with any of them. And I do think that he's frustrated, and some of that came out on the sidelines. And he's human. These guys are all human. And when things aren't going well and the team is losing, sometimes tempers will flare. And that's what happened. And those two guys, obviously, for all the world to see, we got a window into what's going on between those two. And that's why I'm emphasizing the fact that more so than anybody on the team right now, those two need to make sure that they're in sync and they're in concert as much as they possibly can be. We know that Shedeur, who, by the way, wore his Hungry Dog T-shirt yesterday, which I'm just saying, he has a comfort level with those guys. He would let it rip in practice and whatnot to the Gage Larvidans and those guys. But he just doesn't have that feeling of, I know what Jerry's going to do in this situation. I know where to put the ball on his body. I know how he's going to respond. I know exactly what he's going to do on a scramble drill or whatever. He doesn't have that with those guys yet. And there's not a whole lot of time left to get it, but they have to do whatever they can to try.
All right, Mary Kay, offensive line and the Wyatt Teller situation. This seems very surprising to us. Now, we do know that Wyatt did end up getting injured and had a walking boot and all of that. But what led to this musical chairs to begin with?
Just looking out there and studying the film and watching the tape and seeing that perhaps maybe alternating series might be in his best interest. It had to be for effectiveness. Even he said that, and he knows that. You don't alternate a veteran guard like that if everything is going great. So if you even just look at the rankings, which, of course, the Browns don't always agree with those PFF rankings, you see that Joel is 12th and Wyatt was 67th. So you don't land down that far in the rankings if everything's going great. So whatever the case was with Wyatt, and I haven't studied guard film enough this season to know exactly what was going on with him, but apparently they felt they needed to see something else there, and that's what's going on, and it's a development to watch because Wyatt's contract is up. So it's just something to keep an eye on here.
So is his days numbered?
At this point right now, I think when he gets back from the calf injury, he's going to have to show some things, and maybe he will. Maybe he'll do whatever he needs to do, or maybe he comes back next year in a different capacity or something. I'm not exactly sure what the end result will be, but certainly when they're alternating you and you've basically not lost your starting job, but you're sharing your starting job, you have to take a look at that, an unflinching look at that, and understand that perhaps this could mean something different for your future.
Well, and this really isn't a question for you, but you're the one sitting here, so I have to ask. Mary Kay Cabot joining us on the show. Did they really think he was playing that bad where they needed to work in Tevin Jenkins during a game to get him reps to see what he was doing while we're trying to protect Shedeur Sanders, a rookie?
Well, the other aspect of this is they do have to rebuild their line for next year. They know that. And if you have an opportunity to audition someone for the job, this is the time to do it. They know, for the most part, they're not going anywhere this year. And it's a chance to look at some younger guys. And I think you'll see more of that over these last 5 games. They have to know what they have to build this roster for 2026.
Is that then, can I take that as how they feel about Shedeur Sanders in truth? Because if Shedeur Sanders was taken number 2 overall, I really don't believe that they would be rotating guards during the game with him back there at quarterback.
Well, if you thought the other guard that you were rotating in might be better or have a chance to be better or have a chance to do something a little bit differently than what your current guard is doing, they're certainly not going to be doing something to intentionally hurt Shedeur, and we need to get people off of that narrative. We really need to get people off of the narrative that the Cleveland Browns are doing things to hold Shedeur back, to hamper Shedeur, to sabotage Shedeur, and to set him back. That stuff is not happening. It's fiction. I've seen every single minute of every practice that I can possibly watch, all the way back to I went to a showcase. I've seen every single minute of this whole story. and they're not trying to hurt Shedeur, and they're not putting Tevin Jenkins in.
No, I got to tell you, Mary Kay, I agree with that. I don't think that they're doing it. But again, if he were that big of an investment, like if you just felt that Tevin Jenkins was better, you just felt any offensive line was better, you just put them in there and they start the game and that's where it goes. I don't know if I want to let guys get cold and then have other guys have to go in on 4th and 1 and do all these other things where I'm still trying to figure out what I have in my quarterback. I think in a way they kind of tell us what they may think of him right now. Because I wouldn't do that for a number 2 overall pick. I wouldn't do that for a first rounder.
Well, I'm sorry, but I do disagree with you on that.
That's fine.
I just don't think that that's something that they're doing. They would not do it. Let me put it that way. They would not do this if they thought it would hurt their rookie quarterback. I mean, they're not going to do that. They're trying to see if Shedeur Sanders can be their starting quarterback in 2026. So they're certainly not going to risk him getting hurt and do something that wouldn't be in his best interest. So that has nothing to do with what's going on. They're trying to audition another player at guard. They're trying to see if they can maybe bring out the best in Wyatt Teller, maybe try to light a fire under him a little bit. Not that he would need to have a fire lit under him, but sometimes you get motivated if you lose half of your job. So I think it's more about what's going on their offensive line and how to upgrade it for next season than it is about trying to hold back Shedeur or maybe not do something in his best interest.
Mary Kay, with the news yesterday about Deshaun Watson, you've been all over this story about this window that would open up, but do you think we'll get to the point where they will ease him into actually getting reps? I know that was the big discussion a few weeks ago when it came to Shedeur, and then eventually backing up and then maybe even starting a game this year.
Well, when it comes to Browns quarterbacks, you can never say never because we never know what's going to happen, right? You don't get to number 42 without a lot of strange things happening at the quarterback position. Some of those things happen because of injuries, and some of those things happen for other reasons. But I can't honestly say that there's no way he's going to get into a game this season, but I don't think it's the plan. Like I said before, I really do think this is about trying to figure out if one or both of those rookies can be a big part of your plans for 2026. And right now, I think the question is, can Shedeur be your starter for 2026? So you're right. They do need to start seeing more of what he can do, and he needs to start showing more of what he can do out there so that they can really make a strong determination on if they need to draft a quarterback early with those one or both of those 2 first-round picks in 2026. This is a big audition for him, and he's got to nail it if they're not going to take a quarterback. I think that's going to be hard to do because I don't think that the supporting cast they're all not working well together necessarily, as I said before. I think it'll be hard for Shedeur to go out there and show that he can bring out the best in Jerry Jeudy and Ced Tillman and really get this passing game going when he doesn't really have the timing and chemistry with those guys. Maybe it'll come. It'll probably look better on Sunday against the 1-11 Titans. This is not a good football team. So maybe they'll go out there and win, and we'll have overreaction Monday again, and everyone will think that the future is extremely bright at quarterback and whatnot. And then you've got to go to Chicago and see if you can do it again against a really good defense. So it's a week-by-week thing right now. And as far as Deshaun is concerned, as I said before, I do think he probably will start to run some scout team if he shows that he can handle that in practice. They're easing him in. That's smart. And then if he can pass that day's test, then he can move on and maybe start to run the scout team. I think he's the best best quarterback on the team right now. And I don't think that that's far-fetched to say that he's a 3-time Pro Bowler and he knows the game so much better than those guys. And at this moment, he is the best quarterback on the team. And I also want to make this point, which I've made it in print many times. He's going to be back on this football team next year. His cap charge of $80 million is such that you need to have him on the team next year. It doesn't make sense not to. And he's also established himself as a good football mentor to the young guys. And he'll be able to do that again next year if he's not playing.
Mary, was people disagreeing with you about that? I didn't. I took it as gospel when you told me about that.
Well, I'm just trying to make that clear. In fact, I did a little explainer this morning, which I haven't tweeted out yet or X'd out yet or whatever, just about what some of these things mean and what's going to happen. And it's just a little short thing, kind of a FAQ type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if people really realize that he's going to be on the team next year, and I just want to make that clear.
Okay. Mary Kay, thank you very much for the time. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland Plain Dealer, Cleveland.com, on the Fan Hotline.